What is up, you guys? It's Susie from HeyGrillHey.com, and today we are doing maybe the simplest smoked pulled pork we can possibly do. We're also running it hot and fast. This bad boy is gonna be done in under 8 hours. It's gonna be smoky, saucy, absolutely delicious, and you only need a couple of ingredients. Let's do it. If you are familiar with my original smoked pulled pork, you know that bad boy takes almost 20 hours. It is low and slow, but sometimes you gotta get a pork butt done in one day, and that's exactly what this recipe is for. It's cooked at a higher temperature. We're running at 275 the entire time. We're also gonna be using a foil wrap, sometimes called the Texas crutch, to push us through the stall, keep things incredibly moist, and we're gonna end up with beautifully tender, melt in your mouth pulled pork, and it's super duper yummy. So first we gotta prep our pork shoulder. Now this pork shoulder is about 7 pounds, anywhere between 6 to 8 pounds for your pork shoulder, works great. For this recipe, you wanna pick something that is really well marbled. You want a lot of fat in between the muscle fibers itself. It's gonna help keep things flavorful and keep things juicy. Now, typically for my low and slow pork, I will just season this bad boy and get it on the smoker, but because we're going hot and fast, we're gonna get rid of a little excess weight here, and we're going to trim off this fat cap. It's gonna give us more surface area to take on more smoke with the short amount of time it's in the smoker, and it's gonna help us develop a really nice bark on the outside. All right, that looks great. In a low and slow cook, we want that fat as kind of an insulator and to really melt down around the meat and self-baste, but with the hot and fast method, it's just not necessary. So now that we've got it trimmed, we're gonna season on all sides with your favorite barbecue seasoning. I'm gonna be using my sweet rub seasoning. It's a great classic brown sugar based barbecue seasoning. It has all of the yummies in there that are gonna make this pork taste awesome. You can actually grab a bottle in my store on my website, Hey Grill Hey, or I have the recipe if you wanna make it at home. Okay, our seasoned pork butt is gonna hit the smoker 275 degrees. This is hot enough for us to still get a really good, robust smoke flavor, and cool enough that it's not gonna burn the sugars on the outside of our pork shoulder. We're gonna close the lid and let this roll until the shoulder reaches an internal temperature of about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. We're happy with the color on the outside of the bark, and then we'll be ready for our next step. This typically takes about 4 to 4.5 hours for a pork butt this size. Now, as far as wood choice goes, you really can't go wrong with pork shoulder, but we're leaning a little bit sweet here. So I think this does really well with an apple or a cherry or even a maple. It's time for phase 2 of our super easy smoked pulled pork. We're gonna lay out a couple pieces of wide, heavy duty foil because our pork shoulder has hit our target temperature of 160 to 165 degrees, and I'm really happy with how that external crust is looking. All right, now we just gotta wrap this guy up, and we wanna do it quickly so that we don't lose heat off of the pork butt. I'm gonna drizzle it with everything barbecue sauce. This is a really classic Kansas City style barbecue sauce that I sell in my store, but I also have a great Kansas City style barbecue recipe on my website and in the app. Then we're gonna wrap it up really tightly. If you're one that likes extra juiciness in your final finished pork product, you can also add about 1/2 cup of apple juice here. And we just want to take this foil as tight against the pork shoulder as possible. We really don't want a lot of air pockets and steam happening in here. We want to keep all of that heat in. This is going to keep our pork shoulder juicy, but it's also going to speed up the cooking process. Back to the smoker. All right, our pork shoulder is off of the smoker. It hit our target temperature of, well, it actually overshot our target temperature just a little bit. I usually try to pull it off right around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, but when it was that temperature, my videographer was napping. So it cooked until 202 degrees.
Sorry.
It was worth it. Look how refreshed he looks. It'll still be great at 202 degrees Fahrenheit. Really, the tenderness was there, and that's what we're looking for. I know it's gonna have delicious flavor because it's all been wrapped up. So we pulled it off the smoker, and it has been resting now for about 45 minutes. I usually shoot for about an hour of rest time. So let's quickly go over our timeline, because this was kind of like the same day pork shoulder story. I put this bad boy on the smoker right about 9 a.m. this morning. We wrapped it, I would say, between 1 and 1:30, and it was ready to come off the smoker and start resting at 4 o'clock, meaning 5 o'clock, ding, 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 it's dinner time. And this pork shoulder is rip-roaring ready to go. So I think that is kind of the perfect scenario if you're gonna be doing a same day cook. If you can get it all smoked and rested in under 8 hours and have a delicious result, it's the best of all worlds, in my opinion. So let's crack this bad boy open and show you what we're working with. Now, I don't want to lose this beautiful juice that we worked so hard for, so I've got this sitting in a cast iron skillet. It'll help retain the heat really, really well for serving, but it'll also catch all of these yummy, smoky pork juices. You can also use just like a 9x13 pan. Be cool, baby. Now, you can see this is a slightly different bark than we would get if we were cooking this uncovered for the whole 18 plus hours that we typically do a pork shoulder for. However, we're gonna make up for it with all of the moisture and the flavor and the time that we were able to save in the cooking process. So I don't think one is inherently better over the other. I just think it's a choice, and it's a different process, and it yields slightly different results. Now we can just shred it into all of the yummy juices and remove the bone and any excess gristle, and we're ready to go. I mean, that bone came out clean. All right, that looks absolutely beautiful to me. It took about maybe a minute and a half to get it to shred because it was just willing to fall apart. Now, one step I always take before serving my smoked pulled pork is to sprinkle it with a little bit additional rub that I used in the very beginning. It's a great flavor layer builder. It reinforces all of the flavors that we put on the outside of the pork shoulder, but it brings them a little bit more to the inside because that's a big cut of meat, and our seasoning was all the way around, but it wasn't all the way inside. So by adding a little sprinkle at the end, it brings all of those flavors all the way through the meat. Now, I am typically a sauce on the side kind of a person, and I still will be, but I'm gonna hit the top of this with just a little drizzle of that everything sauce. Again, reinforcing the flavors that we introduced throughout the cooking process. This isn't gonna be enough to make the pulled pork saucy, but it's gonna add a little pop, a little zip because of the acidity and the sweetness in the sauce itself. Also, because it just looks gorgeous, look at this beautiful skillet of deliciousness. Can I eat it now? This looks like a good piece for me. You know, I was a little bit worried it was gonna be overdone and maybe mushy, but that's not the case at all. It has great texture, great amount of smoke, great flavor building from everything we put in there, and it's nice and moist. I think this is kind of a quintessential pulled pork. I really think we sacrificed nothing in terms of flavor by doing it faster, and we saved ourselves a bunch of time. So if you're looking for a same day pulled pork, I think this is the perfect way to go. We do this often because I don't always plan far enough ahead to start smoking the day before. It happens, it's fine. I don't think we've sacrificed anything here to get this pulled pork done in the 8 hours that we did. It's absolutely delicious. I feel like you guys are gonna love this one. It's perfect to start piling on top of buns for sandwiches, into tacos, shove it in a stuffed baked potato, and you'll have leftovers for days to use in a million different ways. I hope this quick and easy smoked pulled pork helps you guys feel a little bit more like the backyard barbecue hero I know you really are, deep, deep down inside. We'll catch you guys next time.